Good evening, you're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The committee entrusted with addressing the economic impact of the pandemic reviews the economic situation and needed mechanisms to achieve rapid economic growth. GCC ministers have held the issues and discussed the return of activities and businesses in addition to procedures to open land and air borders between the GCC countries after corona pandemic. The Ministry of Health reports 810 new COVID-19 cases and 708 recoveries. And UNCTAD praises legislative and administrative procedures taken by the Sultanate to enhance its investment environment. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President Danny Farr of the Republic of Seychelles on the occasion of his country's National Day. As per the royal directives of His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq on the formation of a subcommittee entrusted with addressing the economic impact of the pandemic, the first meeting was held today, chaired by His Excellency Sayyid Hamoud bin Faisal Al Busaidi, Minister of Interior, and with the presence of Their Excellencies, members of the General Diwan of the Ministry of Interior. The committee reviewed the task to live with the conditions resulted with the pandemic and the necessity of adapting to it. The committee will study the economic conditions and set appropriate mechanisms to limit its effect to ensure the rapid return of economic and commercial activities. The committee also discussed the mechanisms needed to achieve the targeted recovery in coordination with various government and private bodies. The third extraordinary meeting for GCC health ministers discussed the latest updates on COVID-19 with preventive measures and potential cure. More details in the following report by Abdullah bin Ahmed Al-Rabai.
The Sultanate, under the chairmanship of His Excellency Dr. Ahmed bin Mohammed Al-Saidi, took part today in the third video conference extraordinary meeting of the GCC Ministers of Health. The meeting discussed the latest developments of prevention and treatment of coronavirus COVID-19, along with the continuation of cooperation to consolidate the efforts of the GCC states in tackling the pandemic and the role of the health sector to return to normal life gradually. During the meeting, the Ministers of Health expressed their sincere thanks to their Majesties of the GCC countries and their Highnesses for their directions and concern of the human health and safety, as well as for their unlimited generous support for the health sector to tackle this pandemic, which was reflected in controlling and containing the disease, treating the infected person, and commendation of the global organization, including the WHO, to the precautionary measures made by the GCC states. The Ministers of Health praised the joint actions and efforts exerted by the committees at all levels on counteracting the pandemic. The ministers also commended the efforts of the General Secretariat at the Health Council of the GCC states in coordinating the mutual action, activating the Joint Operations Room of the pandemic, particularly in exchanging information, experiences and health initiatives, as well as organizing intense meetings for the committees and preparing the daily report of the epidemiological situation of the pandemic in the GCC states. Furthermore, the ministers touched upon the Gulf Guide of Pandemics Readiness and Response, Gulf Protocol of COVID-19 treatment, developing plans to return to the business and activate gradually after the pandemic, along with the health precautions discussions on opening the land and seaports of entry between the GCC states. The ministers made a number of decisions to move forward on those issues. In addition, the Ministers of Health mandated the relevant committees to remain to monitor the latest developments on discovering a vaccine for the COVID-19, communicating with the global authorities and work to purchasing this vaccine in the future, stressing the importance of exchanging information and experiences between the GCC states. Abdullah bin Ahmed al-Rubi'i, Sultanate of Oman Television, Muscat.
The Ministry of Health announced 810 new confirmed cases of COVID-19, which brings the total number registered in the Sultanate to 26,079, including 116 deaths. The Ministry of Health stresses that 11,797 cases have been recovered. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, praised the legislative and administrative measures taken by the Sultanate to enhance its investment environment. It said in its World Investment Report for 2020 that the Sultanate has issued a number of laws that govern the partnership between the public and private sectors, privatization and foreign capital investment in order to build a convenient organizational environment for investment. UNCTAD pointed out that the Sultanate has simplified the procedures for the start-up of foreign investment and provided foreign investors with incentive and guarantees. The organization also added that the Sultanate had established an investment portal designed to enable local companies to attract foreign investors from around the world. The first meeting of the committee tasked to devise the general program for privatization discussed various topics related to privatization projects. More details in the following report.
At its first meeting, the committee tasked with devising the general program for privatization, which is affiliated to the Public Authority for Privatization and Partnership, discussed the objectives and economic benefits to be achieved and the policies and strategies proposed to be followed for the implementation of the privatization projects. The committee also reviewed identifying the percentages and mechanism to implement the privatization, whether through public or private subscription, selling to a strategic partner, management contracts, or any other method.
Today's meeting is a translation of the law in which basically we need to have a national roadmap of the national privatization plan, which has to be endorsed by the cabinet. And the first step is to develop this document, get it approved by our board and then the cabinet. So it will take a number of months to complete it. But the intention is to collate the stock count of publicly owned companies and propose the privatization plan for the next 5 years of these companies, and whether it be percentage-wise and the mechanism of privatization, public-private placements, etc.
The meeting focused on the legal and financial regulatory aspects related to the privatization projects, the challenges and risks that may face the implementation of the program, in addition to engaging the private sector in the economic development process, which will work to increase the efficiency of the national economy, enhance the Omani capital market, rationalize public expenditure, diversify government revenue, develop quality services, and create job opportunities.
I need to maybe emphasize that the main focus of the entities working with us and responsible for this, the Oman Investment Authority, Ministry of Finance, ourselves, is to ensure that the proposals reflect the intention of the privatization deal, which is basically to provide opportunities for the private sector to participate, get the know-how and the capabilities and the governance improved in these companies, the productivity, and hopefully get the benefit of providing better services and reducing government involvement in some of these sectors. And so we are very hopeful and very optimistic on that the economic, social, financial impact of these deals will be positive, and all these points are very carefully looked at by the authority.
During the past years, the Sultanate has allocated a number of projects in various sectors, such as industry, communications, electricity, and tourism, due to their contribution in privatization processes, transferring and localizing knowledge and technology, training national cadres, in addition to adopting the principle of competition in providing services by opening markets to a greater number of operators. Privatization projects have also attracted foreign investment, enhanced the country's cash reserves, and reduced budget deficits. For the Sultanate of Oman Television, Saleh bin Khalfan al-Rahbi, Muscat.
Still to come in our news bulletin. As the French government eases lockdown restrictions, the Monarch's Garden in Normandy has reopened for enthusiasts to visit.
Non-compliance with the directives of the Supreme Committee dealing with coronavirus COVID-19 exposes you to risk and legal action. Stay safe.
Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. The Board of Directors of the Civil Service Employees Pension Fund discussed during its second meeting this year's procedures taken by the fund while working remotely during the period of coronavirus pandemic. During the meeting, the board reviewed the fund performance indicators that included cash flows and the performance of the fund's investments, as well as status of projects implementation. It also reviewed the statistical data of retirees and participants and the approval of the unaudited financial statements of the fund. The meeting was held under the auspices of His Excellency Sheikh Khalid bin Umar bin Saeed Al-Marhoun, Minister of Civil Service and Deputy Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Civil Service Employees Pension Fund. Principles, information and records management and ways to deal with 5 categories of records as per its types and importance were topics discussed during the 15th annual meeting of the Board of National Records and Archives Authority. It also reviewed the policies of Electronic Post Department, achievements reports and future development plans to keep pace with changes and in a way that ensures the continuation of record sector plans and programs in the Sultanate. The meeting was chaired by His Excellency Salim bin Mohammed Al-Marhouki, Minister of Heritage and Culture and the Chairman of the Authorities Board. The committee tasked with the following up with the situation of manpower whose services were terminated at the private sector establishment. It's held in the 6th meeting. During the meeting, the committee reviewed the results of the work team in the government by focusing on 16 institutions, 8 of which adhered to the decisions of the committee. Meanwhile, 8 others did not comply to the decisions, in which case the necessary procedures were undertaken. The meeting was headed by His Excellency Hamid bin Khamis Al-Amri, Under-Secretary of the Ministry of Manpower for Labour Affairs. Monarch's Gardens of Paris have been reopened to visitors after coronavirus closure. The gardens used to be one of the most visited sites in Givry, Normandy. More details in the following report.
Claude Monet's gardens, the inspiration for his famous water lilies paintings, reopened to the public during this month in Giverny, Normandy, as France continued to emerge from its coronavirus lockdown. The Impressionist painter's lush gardens usually swarm with tourists, attracting more than 500,000 visitors a year and making them one of the most visited sites in the northern province of Normandy.
I think it's incredible. You can see exactly what you saw in the paintings, in real life, the reflexes and the flowers and the whole thing that he created, using the garden. So I think it's amazing that we can actually be here. I don't think there's a lot of people, so it's not like annoying that you're bumping into each other in the summertime, or at least last year.
But with French border restrictions to foreign tourists, the reopening offers an intimate experience for local visitors, most coming from the nearby cities of Rouen or Paris. To keep with social distancing rules, no group visits are allowed on the estate. Visitors are required to wear protective face masks, follow a one-way route, and book tickets online.
What was the most frustrating was really not being able to present our work to the public. As for the rest, we took advantage of the garden a bit, like how Monet took advantage of it back in the day. We've never seen it this way since it opened.
Normally, the site welcomes around 5,000 people a day, but with social distancing rules, less than 1,000 visitors are currently being welcomed daily. During the closure of the site, 11 gardeners were at work to prepare the reopening. Monet lived in the abandoned farm in Giverny with his family from 1883 until his death in 1926.
It is very beautiful, wonderful, with the sun out and the little birds singing, but it is quite complicated to stroll around with a mask, to follow a walkway where we cannot cross each other, and we cannot take our time in the gardens.
He transformed it into a picturesque pink mansion, with the grounds centered around a garden with thousands of roses, daffodils, tulips and peonies, and a Japanese-style water garden with a green half-moon bridge spanning the water lily pond. The property opened to the public in the 1980s, and last year it welcomed a record 717,271 visitors. Half were foreign tourists, coming mostly from the United States, China, Germany, South Korea, Italy, Britain and Japan.
This is the Sultan of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The committee entrusted with addressing the economic impact of the pandemic reviews the economic situation and needed mechanisms to achieve rapid economic growth. The GCC Ministers of Health discussed gradual return of activities and businesses in addition to procedures to open land and air borders between the GCC countries after corona pandemic. The Ministry of Health reports 810 new COVID-19 cases and 708 recoveries. And the UNCTAD praises legislative and administrative procedures taken by the Sultanate to enhance its investment environment. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the studios and the newsroom, it's good night.
وفي ظل الزيادة في عدد الإصابات بمرض كوفيد-19 في السلطنة، ولتسهيل التواصل ومتابعة المرضى ولرفع جودة العمل، فقد دشنت وزارة الصحة مؤخراً نظام تقصٍ وبائي قائماً على تقنية الذكاء الاصطناعي، والذي سيسهم في الحد من انتشار المرض، كما سيتيح لعامة الناس في المرحلة المقبلة من تقييم حالتهم الصحية وتوجيههم للمؤسسات الصحية في الوقت المناسب في حالة ظهور أي أعراض عليهم.
يعمل تطبيق ترصد بلس على متابعة المصابين والمشتبه بهم سواء كانوا بالعزل المنزلي أو المؤسسي، كما يتيح التطبيق خاصية التبليغ الذاتي عن الأعراض التي يشعر بها الشخص بواسطة الكاشف الطبي. يحتوي التطبيق على العديد من الخصائص من ضمنها الإحصائيات والتثقيف الصحي وغيرها. يمكن تنزيل تطبيق ترصد بلس عبر متجري الآبل والأندرويد وموقع وزارة الصحة الخاص بكوفيد-19.
بعد تشخيص المريض وإدخال بياناته في نظام ترصد بلس، يتم تفعيل نظام الكاشف الطبي والمشرف الطبي، حيث يعمل نظام المشرف الطبي على تتبع الحالات جغرافياً لمعرفة مدى التزام المرضى والمخالطين بتعليمات العزل الصحي، وذلك من خلال وضع السوار الإلكتروني وربطهما بالهاتف النقال للمريض. ومن أجل حماية المجتمع سيقوم النظام بتنبيه الشخص في حالة وجود سوار ذكي بالقرب منه، وذلك في حالة تفعيل خدمة تحديد المواقع في تطبيق ترصد بلس.
وفي حالة التزامك بإرشادات العزل الصحي فإن هذه التقنية ستكون حجة لك لا حجة عليك، وعيك وقاية.
لا توصي ولا تحاتي، الوعي الحين منا وفينا.
الحرص صار جزء من ثقافتنا.
بالالتزام نوصي بعضنا.
صغيرنا قبل كبيرنا.
فهمها قسي دانا شباية.
إذا احتضار بيد فرقة بدي يجهدنا ركلن فيلنتو
لجل نحفظ سلامة عمان.
أنت روحي أنت قلبي فداك عمان.
من البداية كان الانكسار لصيق الصمت، وكان الصمت
بدك يشتغل نادل
يدور في فلك الانكسار.
توفى بحادث اليوم.
ظروف ايش يا خالتي؟
انكسر. البدايات
خليني مفجوعة قلبي مقطع.
اللي ممكن تكون معروفة.
طبعا لو من شاف هذه البنت تاب يعني مع الأسف طبعا،
لكن نهايتها
ما تقدرين تقنعين ابوي
دائما ما تكون في علم الغيب بدايتها القلم.
انت ما لازم تضلي عايشة مع هدول العالم.
أنا علي أضمن لكم راحة البال وتعيشوا بكرامة، بس راحة البال هالمرة ما بتجي إلا بحرب.
بوس إيدك يا لا بعد فرجيني خلتك.
خالك بطل من حاله ولا أنت قلت له؟
الخال ما عاد جاي لهون. لما بني آدم يكون تحت السكينة ما بيشلف شرف.
لأنه عشت 10 سنين مع زلمة بيتنفس قانون، بالآخر بكتشف إنك أنت عايشة مع قاتل.
يا الله.
مش أنت قلتي لي الحي أبقى من الميت؟